really know what's going on over there other than everybody's dumb.
The instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws and they're going to use it on you.
Woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way. It's super cringe.
Hello, Eric. Hello, world. How are you?
Yep, doing good. Outside the Pelosi's crib, checking out, see what's going on.
Nice.
Little,
starting off very offensive.
I was just curious because it didn't really add up, especially after what
Very
happened
weird
here
story.
in Arizona. It was only 2 days after Katie Hobbs, who of course is running for governor in Arizona, said that her campaign headquarters was broken into. She immediately blamed it on MAGA Republicans. They're super scary and mean. And then it turns out it was like this weird dude who was not. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's all fake. I think it's. I mean, come on, bro. The timing, the election's like next week. Really, give us a break. We're not all that stupid.
There's a lot of tomfoolery, buffoonery going on right now. It's getting so easy to predict everything that's happening. We mentioned off air about the new variants that are being discovered in Ukraine that are untradeable. Of course, there's no biolabs there. Don't even mention that. We are demonetized already right as we started. So make sure you subscribe. That's right. It's probably the word Kanye or the word Elon. So make sure you subscribe, uopod.com. You can subscribe to Eric's channel, Report and Opine. You can subscribe to my channel, Andrew Says TV. Well, just Andrew Says on this one. I get so confused by my own things, but youtube.com/Andrew Says. And of course, you're listening to on Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts. On Spotify, you still get the video version. But the rest, please subscribe on there, rate it the big 5 stars, as you know it should. And finally, shout out to Getter. We are on Getter every podcast, and shout out to
Twitch.
them. Best podcast on Twitch and Getter. No viewers on Twitch right now, sorry to say. So do you want to talk about this Paul Pelosi thing? That's his name, right?
That's his name. And look, no, not for okay. Scratch that. Actually, yes, I do, but we're gonna make it quick because we all know that Nancy Pelosi is third in line for the presidency, right?
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't at the House. A random guy from Berkeley, California broke in and smashed him with a hammer, and he went to the hospital briefly and is now back out. And there was no security around the house at all. But now we're hearing that there was another guy in the house with him. Something's not adding up. And it's just a little bit. It's of course it's predictable. All of the stuff that they do is predictable. But even in the grand scheme, if you think about even after the 2020 election, or even 2021 last year, and you can say, you hear people say all the time, oh, it's going to get crazy around election season. So yeah, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you can just tell less than 10 days away from the election or whatever. Oh, all of this is just happening. It's like, yeah, again, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, we knew somebody was going to break into the Pelosi's house, but it's like people have been calling like how crazy things are going to get around the election time. And it's just a matter of what it's going to be. And this is what it happens to be this time. It's like nobody's buying it. And the weirdest part is that, as I understand it, he was hospitalized briefly and now he's out. This is the same guy who got a DUI like 6 months ago. It wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah.
You're 82, bro. Chill.
There's so many things that are weird about something like this that cause people to come up with legitimate conspiracies because of the timing and the inability to get clear information. So they're saying this attacker was originally from British Columbia. He's a nudist, he's a hippie, but of course he follows QAnon. Like the way they try to pin QAnon stuff on like being exclusively right wing. Like just look at the Q shaman guy. Like he's not a right wing guy. If you're a nudist, you're not a right wing person. You're not exactly conservative. But it's very weird. And then, like you said, I read the report that said when police came in, he was battling the guy with the hammer and So it's not like he was bludgeoning him, like as they made it in here. And I know that's a little graphic, but it's like they were having a struggle. So they're acting like it's some gigantic thing. And of course, I don't wish it was. I don't think it's good that a guy broke in and hit him with a hammer. It's just that the convenient timing of everything makes everything get called into question all of a sudden, and then they blame it on right wing. But when people are standing outside Tucker Carlson's house yelling at his wife, they're like, "Oh, this is what you get. This is what you get when you play these politics." You know how leftists used to like to say, "F around and find out." Violence is good when I say it is. You see it in all the Fleckus videos. Oh, I don't know who Ben Shapiro or Michael Knowles is, but it's okay. And fascism and no platform for fascists. And sometimes it's okay to use political violence against people. And then they'll claim it's a use of a broader self-defense is what they say. It's okay for property damage. Everything's okay until it's close to election season and it happens to Paul Pelosi. I don't think it should happen, but I think it's really, really weird. And of course, the media picks and chooses this. Like, hopefully, there can be no violence like this and things can get properly done. But then again, that's not usually how it happens, unfortunately.
And they're mad at Elon now. Of course, they're also mad at Kyrie, and maybe we'll get into that because it's kind of connected to the Kanye stuff. But they're mad at Elon now because he's only been, he's only owned Twitter for 48 hours, and he put out a conspiracy theory. All he said was, perhaps there's more to this story than meets the eye. That's what he said, and they're mad about
Yes,
that.
just perhaps.
Yeah,
You can say
and
anything.
it's crazy.
Did you see the people pretending to be kicked out of Twitter getting interviewed by the mainstream media?
Yeah.
One guy says, funny. "Oh, I guess if being a Nazi is what you want, then this is the company for you." And he said, "I have a Tesla. I don't know how I'm going to make my payments. I don't know what I did."
Yeah.
And the whole engineering team, he doesn't know how he's going to pay his heating bill. It's just so funny how they fall for that every time, just because they so desperately want.
Because they're looking for it, they want it. Yeah, they
yeah.
If somebody's going to give them exactly what we came here for, oh, sign us up. And it doesn't matter how stupid they look after. It's like that old story in Arizona where the guy they said a school hired a guy that did blackface, and then he was just a black guy.
Yes, I remember that. That was a fun time.
They're idiots, bro.
Also, not matching Mario on purpose. What I do in my closet is I pull the thing off the hanger. The hanger flips up like this, and then I take the shirt off the hanger. That's the way to do it like a man, Eric. I don't know about you. Let's dive into Kanye.
That's how a real man does it.
Kanye.
Clothes pile. All right. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I have a lovely girlfriend who does everything like that for me. So otherwise, it would just be I wash it. She told me, here's a funny story before we get into Kanye. She told me that when I lived alone in my condo, that she would come over and my clothes would stink sometimes. She didn't have the heart to tell me. I didn't know that you have to leave the washing machine door open when you're not using it to air it out. I didn't know that. So apparently some of my shorts were really smelling. And I did sometimes use it double it as the laundry hamper. So it's something else you're not supposed to do, I guess, is leave dirty clothes in there.
You'd be all right. But you live to tell the tale.
We live to see another day. Remember a water boy? You live to play another game. The farmer Fran guy. The Bobby Boucher.
That's a deep cut. That was probably the last good Adam Sandler movie. So
actually, that came up last night. That's crazy that we were looking up the IMDb for Sandler. I think it's when he started making Spanglish and these rom-coms is when it started going downhill. He had a couple good ones after that, but I digress. I think we both have a couple different versions of why the Kanye stuff bothers us so much. I think we were both probably disappointed by different people. And let's just get the disclaimer out the way. Neither of us are anti-Semitic. It's sad that we have to say it. I work for Jewish people. I'm friends with Jewish people, so I can say whatever I want. No, I'm just kidding. But just like we believe from Kanye, we don't think it's coming from that angle. But that's the story, Eric. And you get into what you have to say, and I'll get into specifically what I listened to and what I watched that disappointed me, because it's not even what Kanye has said since then. You can have a problem with what he said. You can have a problem with what anybody said. I don't care. I believe in free speech. If you have a problem with what Howard Stern says, I think you should be allowed to say it just as much as you have a problem with what Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh, yeah, what are you doing? You have to get the electric car. But I'll tell you who I listened to and why they disappointed me. But you go first. You have a more, I think, a little bit of a different angle on this than I do.
Well, it depends. So it's actually changed a little bit, or I guess it really hasn't changed. But
Oh,
of
you
course
can't
now
change your opinion.
he's kind of apologized recently, which is okay, fine, I guess. Everybody like it didn't look. First of all, the apology didn't really feel completely authentic. Like okay, like I genuinely am taking this back. It's like all right, I'm sorry that you guys are all angry. That's kind of what it felt like. Which is true. It's like, dude, I'm sorry that you because have the facts changed? Does it have that autopsy report any different? Right? If you want to talk about the George Floyd stuff, because there's multiple angles, right? Like first we had the T-shirts, then we had George Floyd, then we had this DEF CON thing, whatever he said, and I think the first thing is people don't even understand what the phrase DEF CON means, so that's the first thing. And there was a guy who I was just watching Sneako's back, and he's talking to people in New York, and he's like, he keeps saying Death Con, and he does. These people don't even realize that they're fabricating the story, how it didn't even happen, right? And then you have all of the media personalities, all of the Charlemagne the Gods, who of course has been exposed now for saying basically the exact same thing. Have you seen those clips where they play the old clips of Charlemagne?
I haven't seen it, but I'm sure I have. And then another person who basically has said the same thing is Nick Cannon as well.
Yeah. Oh, now in Nick Cannon's defense, I do think they got pretty mad at him for saying some things
Yes,
maybe a
they
year
did.
or so ago. Okay,
It's
but
pretty
they got over
similar
it.
to the "We was Kang's" theory.
But he has since fallen back in line, right? Like, some sort of groveling apology, and that's the problem I have mostly with the apology that Kanye issued. Because do we really think? Do both of us are we sitting here and thinking, oh well, that's good, it's going to be all over now? No, they smell blood in the water. Now you're going to have to apologize because something you did on College Dropout in 2004. Now you're going to have to apologize because you might have said the F word one time on you know what I mean? So they're just going to keep on going. You give them an inch, they take a mile, and it's like I said, it's just so painfully predictable. Do we all really sitting here thinking that Kanye's at home like wanting to kill a whole group of people? No, bro, he's just not the most articulate guy on the planet. So it came out wrong, it wasn't packaged up correctly, and people are going to seize on it very quickly. And last thing, I also don't think maybe this is tinfoil hat, but are we really going to detach this completely from him wearing a red hat 3 or 4 years ago? They're still very mad about that because that's an entire demographic that has been awakened. Like you think I'm the only Kanye West fan out there? You know what I mean? So he wore that red hat. They haven't forgotten about it. It's very close to obviously midterm, and he's been in the news for what, at least 6 weeks now. Every day something is happening. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is he obviously doesn't want, he's not anti-black because he made a shirt. He's not anti-Semitic because he said that a certain group of people may have most of the control in Hollywood and you should read the fine print. And we don't even have to talk about the Weinsteins and the Epsteins and the Allens and any of that. That's a completely different story. I'm just saying, right? So then he goes and apologizes. It's never going to be enough. And I guess that's it, dude. I guess that's it. They want to pretend that it's all about him just being so hateful, but this still has lingering. I think it's still lingering from the red hat and the demographic that he kind of has his finger on the pulse of, and they listen to him, and that's a good group. That's a good group to get, right? And that's why the Democrats want it so hard, and that's why Stacey Abrams is pandering at hip hop hood rat concerts.
Well, it really reminds me of the Trump era where it became a thing to say, "Oh, I don't want to condone anything Trump says." Everybody came out of the woods. Every magazine, every publication, every person, every website condemned Trump. You don't want to work with him. If you work with Trump, then we're going to cut you off. It's very reminiscent of that of 6 years ago for me. And they did that, and then sort of the Trump economy was born, let's call it, where it's Parlor became a thing, Getter became a thing, Rumble became a thing. What else became a thing? The
Eventually,
My
Truth.
Pillow guy,
Later. Oh yeah, my
Truth
yeah.
Social, Right Side Broadcasting, Newsmax. What's the other one that's like Newsmax?
OAN.
OAN. So all these things sort of popped up. The Post Millennial is another one in Canada, even though they don't do very good work. So all these people came. That's right. All these people came out and they said, I need to throw up my hands and say that I don't like Trump and I don't believe in him in order to keep making their money. I feel like the same thing's happening with Kanye. Now, you don't have to agree with everything Trump says, like you don't have to agree with everything Kanye says. It's sort of that thing where people get backed into a corner and they have to defend, or they're told they have to defend, or treated like, or act like they have to defend everything that the person stands for. Nobody's going to stand there and be like, grab her by the pussy is a great thing to say. Like Trump even says he's not proud of it. Nobody's going to stand there and say, dating all these different women and stuff while you're probably married is a great thing to stand behind, or anything like that. Rosie O'Donnell's a fat pig. I only say with her like that. Like nobody's gonna be like, I defend everything he says, just like Kanye. But if you really think Kanye is anti-Semitic, then you have to look over the people he says he's friends with that he consulted with before he went out and said this stuff. But I don't even want to talk about that because I think people should be able to say whatever they want to say. I'm not going to defend everything a person says. What I want to talk about is what I started with, was how people just race out to be like, oh no, I don't share his opinion. And even when we were talking to the BLM people on my other show, where I said, I don't agree with everything you say, and Hawk Newsom said, I'm sick of people telling me that they don't agree with me. Just say what you say. And I kind of thought about that. And in this sense, I watched a few things. The first thing I watched was Kanye on Piers Morgan. Now, Piers Morgan is a guy who's getting great guests, and he's getting me to watch his show uncensored. But every single person he has on, Andrew Tate included, and Kanye, he acts like he's the one who needs to bring them back. He's trying to bring them back. He's like, let me help you to come back into, like normal society. Don't you want to apologize? Don't you see how you're hurting? He's like, he tries to big brother them, even though they're both probably, I don't know if Andrew Tate's richer than him, but Kanye's definitely way richer than him. And that's what he tells them is, why do I need to take advice from you? Piers Morgan just sits there saying, don't you want to apologize, over and over and over again. And so I had enough of that. And then I go and I see that he's on this Lex Friedman guy's podcast. And I saw some clips from Anomaly posting that on Twitter. Now, Lex Friedman is not a guy I'd ever watched before or listened to before, but I know that Joe Rogan speaks very highly of him. And usually if Rogan says a guy is really good, you can trust that they're not a lunatic. They don't suck at what they do. And he's probably bumped them up hundreds of thousands of
Like he's not going to be
a
completely partisan hack, basically.
Yeah, he's not going to be a bum, let's just say.
Right.
So I click on this Lex Friedman guy, and within seconds, I'm sorry, dudes, but I don't like. It's not that I don't like him; it's that I will never be like, I'm gonna. This is a guy. This is one of my guys. I'm never going to say that. His first thing about how he, like, if this was a Lex Friedman podcast, this is what you do. Here's my talk with Eric Butler from Getter.com. This is the Lex Friedman show. A guy with vocal fry, automatically, I'm not going to go for. It's just not going to happen. And then he's a former teacher and engineer. He's the cool guy teacher with a suit on. I get it. That's his bit. I had a teacher like that in high school, come in with a suit. He did magic and stuff. He was really cool. I get it. As an adult, I don't think it's cool that this is your bit. To be the guy in the tuxedo all the time or whatever it is. Like, it's a bit, but it's a bit, whatever it is, a black suit. It's a bit, and it's not a bit that's going to attract me. Just like a bit of a morph suit. We talked about Vancouver. There's these pair of guys who would go to hockey games in morph suits, the skin tight, almost see-through suits that are all one color. It's a bit. It's not a bit I'm going to be a fan of. So I'm sorry. But throughout the whole interview, Lex Friedman keeps going back to, you're hurting people. Don't you want to say sorry? Don't you want to apologize? Don't you understand how much you're hurting people? And that could be true. But as a man, I'm not going to sit there whether it's me doing it or me listening to it, I'm not going to sit there and be like, this stuff about don't you want to talk about hurting people, like that's so lame. And coming out of your mouth, you've got to understand how lame that sounds. Because if you're willing to sit down with a person, unless you really think they're like a on fire racist, you're not going to be as nice to Kanye as Lex Friedman was. And he says he doesn't think he's racist. He says, "Don't you think these words hurt people?" And don't you think they remind people of Hitler? And so, if he really thought Kanye was like Hitler, like some of the articles are saying, then he wouldn't actually be cordial with him. Nobody would. If I had a person come into my studio, like let's go with Richard Spencer, the lowest hanging fruit ever. If he came into my studio, I wouldn't be like, "Hey, how are you?" But you don't have to do the shilliest thing. You don't have to do the most wussiest thing, is what I'll call it. It just comes off as a wuss cast. Turns into a wuss podcast at that point. Eric, don't you want to apologize for what you said about Democrats?
So
Don't
let me
you-
ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
So and I haven't watched this. I didn't watch it. Like, look, I'm number one Kanye fan since college dropout. But there comes a point where I'm like, all right, it doesn't matter anymore. But is that better than what some of the quote unquote urban black podcasters did? So you got Mav Carter and LeBron James who brought him in for the interview and then made a whole big scene to say, we did the interview, but we're not going to air it because we're super. And then Nori, they leave it up for a night or maybe 2 nights. It wasn't up for that long. Some people did rip it. You can see it on other channels, a full 3 hours. But that's even more wussy, more weenie, like, so so we did this whole interview and then we came out and said, we're not going to air it because Kanye said a mean thing, but you're still trying to maintain yourself in this news cycle, right? You're still in there you still wanted to talk to him, right? So, I mean, I just don't understand it. Like, you guys want to use the clout because it's going to get you clicks. So you're trying to cancel him. He's canceled. He's so mean. Meanwhile, everybody wants to talk to him, from Chris Cuomo to Lex Friedman to Pierre. Like, everybody wants to talk to him. Even before, I think it was before the DEF CON thing, when he was talking to, I think it was just like NBC or the Today Show or something, and he said it went viral. It was very funny because he said Sway had the answers. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to talk to him and then say he's canceled. Like, we can't. It's like, dude, you're the one keeping him in the news cycle. Like, I don't understand.
Well, I'm mentioning Lex Friedman because he's seen as a good guy, and like, I don't think he's bad. It's just that it's not for me. I'm not going to mention Chris Cuomo because he sucks and he's a liar and all these other things. I mentioned off the top, Piers Morgan's got me to watch his show. He's got me to click on it several times now because half the time he's making sense. The other times he's just like pathetic. You know what I mean? And he's one of the biggest extremes I think out there. Far bigger extreme than Bill Maher, where I'd say I'd agree with him half the time, but Bill Maher, I agree with him. Yeah, I don't agree with him. Yeah, but Piers Morgan's like, bro, like, you are so bad. You're doing so bad. And then on the other side, yeah, I pretty much agree with him. He's got the bigger extreme. So Lex Friedman, through this whole podcast, keeps asking him to apologize. And Kanye says, keep asking me to apologize in different ways, and I'm not going to do it. To me, if I was having a conversation with another man that I didn't think was a vile human being, I know I have to say that for disclaimer purposes. If I was having a conversation with a guy who I wanted to help and who I liked, like Lex Friedman seemed to have Kanye, I wouldn't just be like, Eric, don't you see you're hurting white people? Don't you want to apologize to the Irish? Don't you want to apologize to the Catholics, man? Instead of tell me what you mean and what you meant by that and why you feel it's not hateful, which I think you should be saying, he's saying, but don't you understand how much that hurts? And I'm sitting there listening, and I'm like, as a ancestrally French person, you can sit there and you can tell me, Napoleon sucks and he was a midget. You can tell me Joan of Arc could never lead an army. You could tell me poutine sucks in French Canadian things. You can say hockey sucks. And I'm not going to say, don't you want to apologize? Don't you realize that hurts people? And I know that's not as extreme as World War II. Of course it's not. But my point is something that happened to my ancestors, and and hasn't happened to me. I'm not going to sit there as a man and be like, please apologize and realize the pain when I could say, tell me what you mean instead. And if you want a better example of that, you can just take, like, if somebody says something about somebody in your family has died, but what they're arguing with, and there's a video on Ben Shapiro about this where somebody in the crowd asks him about it, about the same topic, not Kanye, but the same topic. They say, well, then you're a woke leftist. If you're invoking generational trauma, then you're being a woke leftist in the same way you criticize them for. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be upset by somebody's, if somebody says, gravity's not real, flat earthers have a different interpretation of gravity. I'm not saying if you're some sort of theoretical scientist, you shouldn't think that that's stupid. You can think whatever you want. My problem with the interviews with Kanye is that people have no sense in the moment of saying, am I being like everybody else? And that's what everybody's doing right now. To the LeBron degree, it's obviously a more ridiculous degree, but to the Lex Friedman degree and the Piers Morgan degree, you're just being so simple in the sense that you're just like, don't you want to apologize? Aren't you hurting people? And if you dial back 6 years to Trump, it's Donald, don't you want to apologize? Or followers of Trump, don't you realize that you're representing white supremacy? Don't you realize that you're representing racism? Don't you realize that that hat hurts people? And when a man invokes an emotional argument, he's not going to get a response out of people. Women don't like a man trying to invoke an emotional argument about them. A man is supposed to invoke an intellectually stimulating and logical argument, not one based on feelings, because that's what Lex Friedman did. And for the first time listening to him, maybe that's a bad example, but as the first time listening to him, and all he did was talk about emotions for 90 minutes and get another man to try to apologize for his emotions, for his reactions to things, that's all I'm trying to say, is to try to be like, please apologize because you hurt people's feelings, is a really weak approach.
Of course, but look, and I don't know this Lex Friedman guy. Like, I see him, he pops up on my YouTube feed, whatever. Sometimes, like, I seen him, I heard the name. I've never watched a full episode of his, but it sounds to me, I could be wrong, that he has to go to bat. So they got to him, whoever they is, I don't know. It's the media machine, I don't know. So he has to go to bat for them. Oh, just get him to say sorry, which eventually happened. He apologized, I think, more for the BLM stuff, which is still stupid because obviously, like I said, the autopsy report is still the same. So that's a different story. But he has to go to bat for the establishment. And it's not even about the apology, right? It's about control. If we can get him to apologize, then we have control. We need to get him back under wraps because he's shuffling stuff up. People are starting to think about things and they're not just blindly obeying whatever we're saying, right? I wish, look, if I had it my way, I wish Kanye would have come out in 2020 and said, I don't even know what we can say. Like, maybe I am not quite on board with this entire hysteria surrounding a certain virus. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been great. And I guess that sort of is a perfect segue into what they're doing to Kyrie right now. So Bryson said it the best, right? This new thing that they're labeling Kanye, it's the new equivalent of racism. It's the new equivalent of homophobia. They really like this one though now because, of course, they can pin it on black people. Because we spent decades saying that black people can't be racist, but now with this new label, you can say that Kanye is racist, that black people are racist, and it's just I have no better word for it than it's just so painfully predictable. And it's not like, again, you know exactly what's going to happen, but it's like, dude, we saw what you did to here. Put it this way. Alex Jones gets sued or whatever. He owes $965 billion. And then Jones literally goes onto Steven Crowder's show and says what a lot of us are thinking, it's just a show. It's them throwing a temper tantrum to get more lawyers, to get more people involved, to get rid of your free speech and to make you fall in line. What, a week later, Kanye's being sued by George Floyd's family because he said something that they didn't like. Then at least the father or the brother or whatever withdraws the lawsuit because the truth is really undeniable. You can have the media hide it, but it's still true, right? We can look at these autopsy reports or this autopsy report, and then and then they call Kanye anti-Semitic, and it's just opening. They're just pushing it further and further. So now Kyrie, of all people, you guys are coming after Kyrie now because of a link that he posted to his Twitter, and this is the same guy who stood up to your little science experiment a year ago, just by coincidence.
Well, he handled it very well. They're accusing him of, why would you promote Alex Jones? Like, you can't share something that's true. I don't even know what he said. It was about Sikh societies or something. And,
Yeah, it was an
Kyrie
old
said
Alex
it was
Jones,
true.
like an old Alex Jones clip from like 2000 or something.
Nice, maybe some Bohemian Grove stuff or something, or
Yeah.
Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
The point is that what's going to happen now when people like Piers Morgan simp for a cause is that they're going to ruin the word. They're gonna ruin it, so it's not gonna mean anything. Just like racist and sexist. Now they're gonna ruin the mainstream media will ruin the claim of anti-Semitism. So now when I don't know, when somebody in the Middle East wants to say something about Jews or Jewish people, and it's put in text, you're gonna have so and so's anti-Semitic, and then you're gonna have 50,000 other people on Twitter calling people who aren't anti-Semitic, and it's not gonna mean anything. They've done it with anything. And why does this happen, Eric? It happens because the media is so greedy to stop people that they disagree with, and the Democrats are so greedy to stop people that they disagree with, that they will ruin everything. They will exhaust every resource. You know, you hate the environment because you want to drive a gas car. You hate women because you don't think that Brett Kavanaugh's a gang R word, which is a guy who likes rap a lot. You're racist because you don't like Kamala Harris, or you're anti-Semitic because of whatever Kanye said, or anything else. They're just going to ruin it. They're just going to ruin the word, and they're going to make it so that it doesn't have any sting. And this is what we're working towards in society, I guess, where there's going to be a group of people that think everything's offensive, and there's going to be a group of people that thinks nothing is offensive. The truth is going to be somewhere in between. And that's what they want. They want words to not matter. But in the short game, it's what can I use to try to dismantle people? And we can bring that into a segue about Elon Musk, if I may. What they're doing with him on Twitter is they're now trying to say, hey, and it's very Donald Trump again. If you agree with Elon Musk taking over and making it more free, I guess, then you should not advertise with him. And I found an article here that GM, as in General Motors, shout out GM, Oshawa, Ontario, Canada, closed down years ago to go. But I digress on that fact, Eric. First company to pull ads from Twitter because Elon Musk has taken over. I'm getting Eric, viewers and lovers of unauthorized opinions at uopod.com. I'm getting Eric to be one of these guys who now that's the conspiracy voice. Whenever anything in the media is a conspiracy, it's Elon Musk, conspiracy theorist. Must take off advertising. GM pulls paid ads from Twitter after Elon Musk takes over a social media platform. Why? Because people put out a thing to say you gotta hit them where it hurts. You gotta hit them where the ads are.
Now,
GM
okay,
announced.
are we
Go ahead.
I mean, are we really under the impression that the average GM customer is some weirdo woke lefty? Like, let's be real. Are these people this out of touch? Are they
What about
all
this?
They're owned by the establishment too?
Of course they are, but GM is also predominantly gas-powered cars, Eric. So it's probably not hard for them to say, Elon's in direct competition with us. We probably shouldn't be advertising on him. So they're probably
Fair.
trying to capitalize, finding a good excuse, to do a little parlay here. But it was unclear how long the move would last or what it would cost Twitter. But in a statement to the Free Press, it's a great name if you can get that one. The automaker suggested it is still in conversations with Twitter, which is making what GM called significant changes to understanding the direction of the platform under the new ownership. Temporarily pause or paid advertising. So it's a PR move.
Yeah.
They've temporarily paused it so they can be like, oh, we don't agree, Mr. Musk, with your freedom.
Yes.
And then they're going to go back to doing it. They're going to say,
wait, can I just make one
Yes.
correlation here between this and the Kanye stuff, right? So yes, this is a PR stunt to get people talking about them. Mission accomplished, right? And it reminds me of, if you remember this STEM player, the thing that Kanye was promoting where his
Right.
new album was going to be. And then the technology guys at STEM Player, they came out and said, we're pulling Kanye. We cut ties. That's the catchphrase now. We're cutting ties with Kanye West. And then they backed out. It was like a day later they backed out. They say, oh well, no music is being removed just yet, because they realize that their only claim to fame, nobody knew what a STEM Player was before Kanye signed on to it. So the only person that you guys had that were helping you promote your product was Kanye West, putting his music on there exclusively at one point in time. And for them to say, we cut ties with Kanye, you lose 99% of your audience. And so I guess that's not correlated directly with this, but it's like, it's a PR move because we need everybody to know that we agree and we're on board with this insanity. And then you realize, oh, well, they didn't really mean it. They were just trying to, get a little headline and virtue signal. But when the bottom line comes, GM is going to be back advertising. STEM Player is going to have Kanye's worst album ever produced, Down to 2. It was garbage. It was like 16 songs. I think 2 or 3 of them were good, but that's a completely different story. And that's what this reminds me of. It's like they're so quick to hop on board, like you say. We all have to let everybody know that we think this is so mean, and we're we down with Kanye. He needs to be canceled, until he's literally the only person that has ever advertised your product, and nobody else likes it now. So GM, they're scumbags, bro. Like, I see GMs all around Arizona, and with giant LGB stickers, and like, know your market, bro. Like, if anybody wants to get off Twitter, maybe it should be like a Prius or one of those little. I don't know. We're just being like stereotypical. Always watch out. Just for the record, too, I noticed this. The green Kia Soul will cut you off. I'm just saying.
The Square Mobile.
Yeah, a green Kia Soul is gonna cut you off.
I come from a city called Oshawa in Canada that used to flourish in the 90s because of the GM plant. And man, did they take their ship to Mexico. So I have no sympathy for them. And then they shipped even more to Mexico. And then everybody was outraged. So I was like, no, we'll keep 200 employees here for an automated car track, a testing track. And that's all that's left there. We used to have so many malls, Eric. And now it's just homeless people with loud noise emitters under the bridge, like I went to a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I saw that clip. I was like, what the hell is going on? But GM, they also left Detroit. Of course, that's why they left Detroit. My uncle used to work for them, and like
Detroit, baby.
Yeah, Detroit. What? 8 Mile.
I was just upstairs listening to my Will Smith CD, and I started seeing all these flames. I forgot about Dre. So Elon, new owner of Twitter, tweets, see, this is what you got to do. Unfounded anti-LGBTQ. It's not just anti-L, G, or B. It's also T and Q. How do you have a conspiracy theory that's anti-gay but also anti-trans? Unless it's a conspiracy that they literally don't exist or something. Musk sent the since deleted tweet, which linked to a story on a website that has a history of pushing. What's the website, Eric?
Infowars.com. I don't know.
Is it actually?
I don't know. But they would call. I mean, it could be
that has a history of publishing false information. Well, what website is it?
Well, we're not going to give them a platform. So you'll never know.
I need to know.
No, this is what they do. This is like the sources. This is like that New York Post story that says
Santa Monica
Kanye.
Observer.
Oh yeah, because that's a conservative. It's a conservative. Oh, and they don't even. This is fake.
Low question. I love when people. There have been people who send me like the Twitter bias check of me, and it's just like, this is all you need. I don't know anything about it, but I'll just trust this media bias fact check. They must be unbiased, Eric.
Yeah, it's all fake.
It's so funny. I love when people do this about ad free. Do this to me about like conservatives and Republicans too, and it just tells me that they haven't actually seen or read anything that I do, because they're just like, oh, you wouldn't be saying this if it was the other way around and it was about conservative and not Trudeau. I'd just be like, check your privilege, bud. Observer?
Yeah, the Santa Monica Observer. But it could be
Ever
anything.
heard of it?
They could look. They're gonna any publication that just doesn't. Oh, what?
Connection. What the hell is this? I've never
Any
seen that
publication
before.
that just doesn't. If they break on one issue, and this is what Katie Hobbs was saying too about Carrie Lake. She said Carrie Lake hasn't talked to one reputable local Arizona news site, and it's like, what, dude? Carrie Lake is out there every day, but she throws in that weasel word, reputable. So if she goes to one outlet that said that was, they might have written one article about gender ideology in schools, so now that doesn't count. It's just like you do one thing that's even mildly, even remotely close to reality, and then that doesn't count, right? That's what they
Well,
do.
well, yeah. Well, the first story I clicked on: Berkeley student breaks into Nancy Pelosi's house, bashes Paul Pelosi with a hammer.
Dude, he was
That
42 years old.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I think just by that title, you can say, by the way, that they mentioned that it was Berkeley, because you can tell that they're biased. Because why would you mention that it's a Berkeley student? Because Berkeley is overwhelmingly left wing. If I go and rob a liquor store, what does it matter what school I went to? You know what I mean? So I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm saying that's
Maybe
how you
it
kind
doesn't
of
need
tell
to
that
be
it's
the
right wing.
headline. Like
No,
you can
exactly. This is
yeah.
him at a nudist thing in 2013, apparently. Let's try, and yeah, this is the picture we've been seeing. Let's try another random article. What should we go with? Jessica Alba shines. Maybe celebrity stuff isn't the best idea.
Santa Monica
Slow
Observer.
website. Jessica Alba shines at GT Days Hollywood Halloween Bash, sponsored by Aqua Hydrate. So is that a sponsorship post?
Yeah,
I don't
what
know.
is this? Is this an ad? I
It
don't.
says it's the most popular stories. So it's just like a cheesy site, I guess. But it
But
doesn't
look,
necessarily mean they're wrong about stuff. I'd like to know what the article was.
But come on, I get it. They can take jabs at like a quote unquote conservative or right leaning website, but let's be real, bro.
Appears to be fake and defamatory.
Every single thing they do is every single thing they do. I mean, how many times are we going to talk about the look like I was an NBC lady. They get the snake always eats its own tail, right? So they're these people who are constantly pumping out fake news or it's falsely framed or whatever, and they can they can never admit when they're wrong, right? But then they will also attack their own, like that lady who says, "Hey, John Fetterman is not really not looking too good," and they're like, "She needs to have consequences. How dare that's a she's not a journalist." It's like, whoa, calm down, guys. Like one lady says, like, are we really supposed to believe that woman is like a far right wing extremist? She had one conversation with a Democratic politician and is like, yo, this guy's he had a tough time. Like, this is a disgrace. It's like, guys, calm down. So for them to point the finger at the Santa Monica Observer, I think is the peak of their hypocrisy.
Well, I just like the stuff like police department shared news information that directly contradicts the claims, including in the story Musk links to. You said something that I don't agree with. Let me write an article about it and say that the people you cited are liars and the police told us something else. Like, that's where we're at now.
But then also, like,
You disagree with the main narrative, therefore
yeah.
it's worthy of a story because it's Elon. I mean, I guess.
And this is one thing
if you think that's clicks.
that you've said a lot, that you are constantly talking about is the sources say, or a source close to the familiar with the situation. And that's how the post was running with this Kanye thing. Like, a guy told us that Kanye liked Hitler 5 years ago. So it's like, what, dude? Like,
That's what
how do you?
somebody replied to me on something. I think it was Instagram, and said, "Yeah, but Kanye wanted to name his book something. I forget what it was. I couldn't find it. Kanye wanted to name his book something like Hitler." And it's like, oh, did he? Let's see if I can find it.
But that's when they open up the floodgates, and that's when they try to take down Kyrie. They're also coming.
Kanye also
least-
has a book called My Struggle. Hitler liked French fries, therefore you're Hitler.
Yeah, Hitler
So if
drank
you want,
water, the
if you
whole
want to
thing.
go, if anybody out there watching, I see there's somebody in the chat freaking out. If you want to go and be like Kanye's a Nazi, go ahead. If that's what you want to do, go write about it. Go talk about it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go out there and claim that anybody is a Nazi. I'm not going to go out there and write any articles that say somebody is a Maoist unless the person self admits themselves as such a thing. I'm not going to go to the extreme and just be like, this person is actually the same as one of the worst people in human history, or the worst person in human history. Maybe you think there's somebody else. I don't know. The devil. But if you want to go and be like, this is the equivalent to like the person who's held up as the worst person in history as Hitler, then you may go publish that, go work for the publication that does that. But when they do that to somebody again and say, actually, no, this person's worse than Hitler. Now we've got a ranking system, and there's Hitler number 3, Kanye number 2, and Donald Trump at number 1.
Yeah.
Then maybe you'll start reading into things a little bit. But as we stand today, Kanye is Hitler.
And
that's where we're standing.
There's a joke. The best shows ever created. Now I realize that Jerry, George, Elaine, they've all gone soft. They're all super. They're not. I wouldn't say they're super woke. Jerry has stood up to it a little bit, like won't go to college campuses because they, freedom of speech issues. But of course, on this issue, he's hopped out the window. He's jumped on the bandwagon. Fine, whatever. He's a 60-year-old man, and he's just like, all right, I don't even know how to use the Twitter machine or whatever, the Instagram. He'll just do it because his wife told him to do it. But Seinfeld and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia both have great jokes about this topic of, I guess, saying certain things about a certain group of people. And Jerry makes the joke about his own uncle who will blame everything on anti-Semitism. If the cheeseburger is overcooked, it's anti-Semitism. You know what I mean?
Well, this was back when like we said, this was back when it wasn't all systems go, when everybody was controlled, when it didn't matter if it was Clinton or George Bush, who of course now hang out with each other, and Obama. That was back when everybody was playing the game. Once they stopped playing the game in 2016 and Trump said that we can't trust the media, we had to go all systems go, Eric, and there's nowhere we can't joke about that stuff anymore. You can't to sidebar here, Eric, when I see a commercial with a transgender, or not even a transgender guy, a drag queen in it, like I saw for Visa debit today, I think of Eric, and I think of when he says, if you're convinced by this, then there's nothing you won't be convinced by.
Yeah.
So I've already had to give up Taco Bell for the most part because of what they're doing, and it's like,
wait, did they do what did they do? Some trans
I thought we talked about this for Pride Month. They were doing they had a commercial of lesbians doing a seance, so like some like weird spiritual thing, followed by a drag queen guy posing in different outfits in a change room and doing all this other stuff.
I don't remember
Taco
that.
Bell. Well, you don't watch enough multicultural television. I think, did I talk about this last week, how I have Canadian, UK, and US channels because I subscribe to all the things. And US okay, so Canadian channels you're gonna get, I don't even know what it is because it's my whole life, right? Whatever it is, but I can spot the differences. So when you watch the US channels, which I do for football a lot, it's pharmaceuticals, car insurance, and food. So the pharmaceuticals is your standard thing with 75 side effects. Then you've got, the general car insurance, or you've got, what's the one Ice-T and Allen Iverson are on, the car insurance thing?
I don't know about Allen Iverson, but I think
Fix Auto or something.
I know what you're talking about, but I forget
They're
the name
all
of
in
it.
one
That means it's not
commercial.
working that well.
Ice-T, Allen Iverson, and somebody else are all in a barbershop in this commercial. And then, of course, you get these food commercials, and it's an American commercial, and everybody in Canada know this. It's an American commercial when they're just like, check out our 99-cent menu, or you can get this for $1.99. That's never going to happen here. If a Canadian sees a commercial where something is sold at a fast food restaurant for under $2, we know it's not for us. And then you've got the UK commercials, which is all online gambling and gay stuff. Every single commercial has to have like gay, interracial, and obviously I'm not against those things. I hate that I have to say it, but it's just every single thing. And they have this crazy thing where there's a banner at the bottom of every commercial that has to say like one line of truth that the company doesn't want you to have. Like, this hair dye doesn't always work as well as it should, basically, or like this is only effective on 75% of people use it. And that's the other thing you end up reading. It's like when you have the captions on something, it's the thing you end up reading. So UK commercials are the worst by
Really
far.
worse than US
you
commercials, huh?
Yes, you have to go to this gambling website, but it's also mandated in the top right corner that you also need to go to this anti-gambling website. And you also must download this app that limits your gambling. So gamble, but do it responsibly, everybody.
Yeah, that's what they do. Same thing with cigarettes, like I guess we don't have cigarette ads anymore, but now you have to put like on the pack
We
like
don't have them.
you will die, or like there's like a picture of some rotted out lungs or something. So
You're not allowed to advertise alcohol or cigarettes here.
what's funny though is that
Wait, you can advertise alcohol, but not cigarettes.
I mean I see
Yeah.
alcohol ads on YouTube, right? They do the like little 6-second brainwashing ones where they don't tell you anything. It's just like a party scene and then it's the logo at the end. But I always thought
There's
it was
some
funny.
tequila that has a really bad one where it's just like a drawing.
Yeah, I always thought it was weird because you don't see okay, so maybe it's just too new, so you don't see any like weed commercials, but
Mm-hmm.
when you drive down the highway, every other billboard is for a cannabis club.
Oh, we
So it's
don't
just
have that. Can't advertise any drugs here, but there are a ton of drugs. They started off here by being like, you have to apply for a license, and we're only giving out like 2 per jurisdiction that wants it.
for
And then it
people of
started off like,
color.
oh, they started off with like, oh, this town's only gonna have 3, and the next town over is not gonna have any. And now there's like 4 within 30 seconds of me. And then you go to downtown Oshawa, the same city I said that's like run down now. All the stores were closed in COVID, decimated, but there was 3 weed stores on one block. So
I don't know, man. This is not good. Before you know it, and then you have people like Scott Wiener in San Francisco. He wants to decriminalize everything. Like, oh, like he's so cool, so you're going to be able to do mushrooms and coke. It's like, first of all, San Francisco is already in a completely open air drug market. That's the first thing. Second thing, nobody believes. Does anybody really believe that Scott Wiener and Nancy Pelosi or Mayor London Breed in San Francisco are doing this because they just love freedom and they want you to choose? No, bro. They're trying to pump you full of stuff so you're completely discombobulated. You don't know what's happening. And then next thing you know, Scott Wiener's going to have taking your kid to the clinic to get him monkeypox shots and something like that. Like, and they're not. Oh, this is just for the good, man. This is all about freedom and liberty. No, bro. This is about like, let me push this on you. I mean, we already did it with weed, but people have become so accustomed to weed that everybody's just smoking all day and they're going to work. So we got to up it a little bit. So we need to get them a little bit more into the haze. So we're gonna legalize mushrooms, and I'm so cool, and nobody's gonna know what's going on. And Scott Wiener is gonna be, diddling your kids at a drag show.
it's the number one concern for everybody involved. Let's check in with the Santa Monica Observer. Homeless man pulls a knife, barricades himself at a T-Mobile store on 3rd Street Promenade.
Oh, well, I think I've actually ever been there. Like the 3rd Street, it's like a famous Santa Monica spot, right? Yeah, 3rd Street
What was the
Promenade.
band that's had the song about Santa Monica? They were
I
like a
don't know.
Nickelback knockoff. I remember the days when you left for Santa Monica.
No, I
You're
don't.
gonna
I don't
remember.
know that. I don't know that
Maybe
one
it
at
was only a
all.
Canadian thing.
What, talking about
Okay.
Santa Monica?
No, knowing that band, maybe that was only a Santa Monica thing,
But
or I mean, a Canadian thing. I
But
remember
if the
days.
band is making a song about Santa Monica, I would assume they're from California, or at least from the States.
It is Theory of a Dead Man. Do you remember
Nope.
them?
No, never heard of them. Never heard of them.
I want to see where they're from. They might just be from, because some of the pictures of Nickelback come up when you search them. Let's see where they're from. Yeah, they're Canadian. North Delta, British Columbia.
Oh,
Well,
so
that
maybe
makes
they
sense.
just went to visit Santa Monica and they really loved it.
No, actually, he's talking about his girlfriend leaving for Santa Monica, Eric.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's basically like that. There's like an influx of bands who all
Wait,
sounded like
what's
that.
today's today's the 30th.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm
Devil's
just
Night.
looking at. Okay, wait. Hold on. I'm looking at Twitter right now. So just back up really quickly.
I'm backing
Is
up.
Kanye back on Twitter? Is he? Can he tweet now?
I think
Is
he's
that...
just he can't tweet until he deletes his other post, just like the
Okay.
Babylon Bee.
Okay, so I don't know if he's deleted or whatever happens with that. But it's funny to me. I don't really use Twitter like that. I look at it every now and then, just the homepage. Like, but every time I've looked at it in the past like week or so, he's always on this like what's happening little trending tab on the side.
Mm-hmm.
So, how Kanye West got canceled from TMZ. Now, are we going to ignore the fact that TMZ is literally proving his point? Owned by a man named Harvey Levin. I'm just saying. Like, are we just going to blatantly ignore that? TMZ has been going the hardest to get rid of Kanye. They're the ones that they also wrote a story about how people were mad at him because he called Joe Biden retarded. So they're coming at him from every possible angle, TMZ that is. And I'm looking at this Hillary Clinton tweet because she's the Republican Party and its mouthpiece is now regularly spread hate and deranged conspiracy theories.
Oh,
Like this
true.
is I mean, how are people not seeing through this? You can't see that TMZ is going out of its way the White Lives Matter stuff wasn't enough. The Jewish thing wasn't enough, but they're also getting at him because he called President Joe Biden retarded, which
You can't say that.
but I mean, who's arguing that? And then Hillary Clinton, of course, she's already come out saying that the 2024 election is going to be rigged. I mean,
Yes, that was a good video. It's a great video.
how deep is this going to get before people say, all right, enough, bro? Like
Hillary's like so close, like reading the teleprompter. She's like this. The Republicans are planning already. They're planning on stealing the next election. And they're going to do it, you guys. Donate to this website.
That's the boomers.
That's what Hillary was doing.
That's what boomers do. They get too close to the camera and they don't know what's going on. But I'm sorry, because I'm just looking at this. It's like, it's so clearly fake. And I think I mentioned to you a little while ago, I thought it was peculiar that it's a free-for-all. You can slander Kanye, you can tweet, you can hashtag his name all day, how terrible he is, but he's not on the platform, so he can't even say one word about it, even if he wanted to. And
Who
Hillary
else
Clinton,
did that happen to?
Well, a lot of people.
Donald Jesus Trump, I believe his middle name is.
I would have said Alex Jones, but whatever.
Alex Jones. He was the first one. I used to have a notepad file on my PC that said things Alex Jones has predicted, and the first one on the list was he will get canceled, and then everybody else will get canceled after him, and that sort of came true.
Yeah, exactly. And even on a micro scale, when he got sued, and then it just opened up the floodgates. Like, do you think people are gonna just and the same very similar thing happened with the racist Muppets or whatever? They're like this whatever and whatever happened with that. By the way, this guy was asking for $25 million because one of the Muppets didn't give his little girl a high five or something.
That was it wasn't the Muppets. It was
Sesame Street, whatever.
Sesame Street. I guess they are technically Muppets. Sesame Street is, but they're full-size Muppets. Sesame Street is Jim Henson.
Okay, well, no. Muppets are Jim Henson. Sesame Street is not. Sesame Street's different.
Sesame Street characters are Muppets, dude.
Oh, okay. Look, well, either way, this guy's not doing
obviously not Big Bird, but he invented
Elmo.
the Sesame Street. Yeah, Sesame Street.
Okay, all right,
Jim
fair enough.
Henson.
But
Sesame Street puppeteer Jim Henson, dog. He owns the puppet game, dog. All right. You think that there's just competing puppetry people out here?
Look, I have no idea, but
right?
when that family comes out and says you owe us $25 million, and then they try to open it up to this class action so everybody can just crawl out of the woodwork and say, yeah, I went to the park too, and the guy, it's like, dude, you guys are so pathetic. Oh, it makes my head hurt how these people just can't. I mean, like, does anybody, and this is an honest question, I'm sure they're out there, but does anybody really look at Hillary Clinton's Twitter or Instagram account and say, yeah, this is a lovely lady.
My mind's been
This makes sense.
changed, Hillary.
Yeah, this is all stupid. Now it looks like Arizona is trending. Oh, and that's another thing too. Just really quickly connecting all the dots, right? So, Kerry Lake takes the lead in the Arizona governor's race by 11 points. A local Phoenix news station runs the results of the election 12 days early, calling Katie Hobbs the winner by like 6 points.
That's sweet.
They put it out there and then they apologized. And then Katie Hobbs says her headquarters was broken into. Then Nancy Pelosi's husband is smashed with a hammer, all within like 4 days, all less than 2 weeks away from the election. What?
You know what that probably is, though, is that people, news companies will write like an article without all the details in it. They'll write it both ways so they can put it out faster. Somebody probably hit publish too early. Or it's good to be.
I get totally. And same thing with like the NBA championship t-shirts or whatever, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it only ever happens one way.
It's true.
You never saw, Kerry Lake wins in a
Time
landslide
magazine or whatever it was with Hillary.
Yeah. Never. It never happens that way. Same thing with the kids. You want to talk about sexualizing kids every single time, but it's never like, hey, little Billy, let's go to the titty bar. No, it's like, let's go to the drag show, because it only works in one direction. It only works in one direction.
Tim Hortons sponsored drag show. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Okay, exactly.
You know who did a drag show for kids up here? The Legion. The Legion is like what is it? John Taffer did a thing in one of them. It's where the veterans go and drink. You know what I mean? Whatever it's called in like they call them the local one number thing in the US.
It's like a union, or like the airborne.
They do it for veterans. Yeah. So one of the veterans things here did it for drag. They also talk about diversity. They're also doing a internal like study to see how much diversity they had. They also refused to like let us hold an event there. So we'll see if I'll be wearing a poppy this year.
And you guys
UOPod.com. Go ahead.
You guys. Well, I was just gonna say, and hockey is also too white, so you guys got to fix that also. I think
correct.
That's mostly
hockey's dead. Like hockey's not dead to me, but the NHL's dead to me. It's insane. There's never been more than like 5 black guys playing in the league at once. And it's not to say that there shouldn't be. So here's my disclaimer. I just want to apologize to all hockey players and all people born with skates for feet.
It's just so obvious, because it would never look. I'm not even going to state the obvious. You get it. You get the point. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. Yeah,
I do. UOPod.com. Read Eric on Tatum Report and watch him on Alt Reporter and Report and Opine on Instagram. I'm Andrew Does on there. We also have, and I'm on Rebel News, of course, my show with Jason Miller and me going to a BIPOC only lounge. Eric, you like that one? I went to a university BIPOC only lounge. There are white girls in there. So check that out at rebelnews.com. And of course, if you're watching on Getter, shout out to people named Esther and Dilbo Baggins. Thanks for watching. You can go to patreon.com/UOPod if you want to contribute to us. There's some guy who freaked out. He said, stay back to Walbrook $100. I don't know what that means. Mr. Krakowian says hello. Hello, Mr. Krakowian. It sounds Polish. Can I see your feet? He says. If you go and sign up on our Patreon at patreon.com/UOPod, I will send you pictures of feet. Just to you, Mr. Krakowian. I didn't say whose feet they are, so you can take the chance, but you'll get pictures of feet. So go contribute to us there. We'll start putting stuff up there soon. You know, it's
OnlyFans coming soon.
Maybe that interview that we have scheduled for next week, Eric, can go on Patreon first. But we digress. No comments there. Do you know what a shepherd's pie is, Eric?
Not really.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make that this weekend. See you guys next week. No, you're not gonna say anything. I was waiting for you to say something.
Buy my book, New York City 2020, Gotham Unglued.
Turn it up, Jordan.